Hi guys, it's Tim here, and today I'm going to jump in the car and go about 2 hours to go and work in Dave's workshop for the day. I'm probably not going to do any work at all. I'm just going to point the camera around and get in his way. So anyway, I'm going to jump in the car, drive 2 hours down to go and see Monkey, and we'll take a look at his car. So guys, while I'm driving down to see Dave, make sure you like this video and press subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on the next Mark II installment of what am I even trying to say? So guys, while I'm driving down to see Dave, make sure you press the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more. I don't even know what I'm saying. Guys, just like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm getting in the car. I'll see you at Dave's. So we're here with Monkey. Say hello, Monkey.
Hello, Monkey.
And his V6 3.2 Mark II Golf. As you know, I refuse to call it an R32, even though I've done it in the title just for the clickbait. Dave, you recognise Dave from our previous live stream videos. Dave's one of the admins on the Mark II Golf Owners Club. I've known Dave for years. So he messaged me today saying he's going to do a rear brake kind of upgrade, but it's nothing to do with the brakes. It's actually changing the bearing setup in the rears to run things like the Seat Ibiza or the Polo 6N2 rear setup for the bearings. So Dave, what is the benefit in changing the rear brake setup to accommodate the new bearing setup?
The standard Mark II, Mark III rear bearings are the taper fit bearings, and they're all well and good for the time, but since they've moved on the Mark IV platform and things like that, they've actually moved on to a better bearing, which is why we're upgrading these. So we will have actually no longer taper bearings, they will be the solid state ones.
And that should get rid of a lot of the wobble in the rear bearing, because every time I get mine MOT'd, I always get an advisory for excessive play in rear bearing. Yeah. But not excessively dangerous or something like that. So every time I see a Mark II Golf that has got no advisories on the MOT, it always makes me think, really? Because I cannot get an MOT without getting a mention on those rear bearings.
Yeah, the reason why I didn't get one on my MOT this morning was because I tightened them up before last track day.
Good work.
Yeah, so now the idea is this should basically save a lot of maintenance, because otherwise you're changing your bearings every couple of years if you're using them hard. This should be good for years to come.
So down here we've got, we'll start with some refinished rear brake shields. We've got some stub axles here. Dave, are these off of a Polo or an Ibiza?
That's right, yeah. Polo GTi really. And
then of course we've got some calipers, we've got the carriers, we've got the handbrake assembly, and of course we've got the hubs as well. And we've got the new rear disc setup as well. So, so Dave, if that's 4x100 and not for a Mark II Golf, what is that for?
That is Polo GTi.
So that's just a straight Polo GTi rear brake setup. So if you want to do this job at home, it is just a case of buying all of the bits for a Polo GTi. So bearings, discs, the lot. So really straightforward job to do. It just bolts on and off. So if you can change a set of discs and pads, you can definitely do this job at home. So let's see how easy this is. So to start with, I guess we need to get the car up. We need to take the wheels off. It's probably the best place to start. Obviously using an axle stand either side, because you don't want to be underneath the car without it. We've got this tool here to depress the brake pedal to make sure we don't lose any brake fluid when we disconnect the rear hoses at the back. Now Dave's just undoing the caliper and disconnecting the handbrake cable. The whole rear beam's coming out, so just need to unbolt the suspension from the back of the beam as well. So what you doing under there, Dave?
Currently I'm having a go at the rear brake bias valve.
Now this is a valve with a spring on it that connects to the rear beam that all of your rear brake lines go through. All GTIs have got it. If you haven't got a car with a rear disc setup, you might not actually have one. So you bought a fancy brake tool to do it and just use mole grips in the end anyway?
Yeah.
It's a waste away, mate.
Well, you know, it's always nice having a new tool. I love a new tool. And on the flip side of it, the other tool I bought appears to be working because I'm not horsing brake fluid everywhere.
So you've got no fluid coming out at all because you put that special tool.
I had a couple of drips to begin with, but literally there's absolutely nothing in there.
Wow.
Very happy. Very happy with that. Right.
So what have you taken off under there, Dave?
So I've disconnected the brake bias valve, all the rear brake lines, and cut a couple of the flexies just to get them out of the way, because we're going to drop the entire rear beam off and just give this a bit of a refurbish because I've never touched it before.
And so just with the cutting of this rear brake flexi, it's ready to come out. Now Dave's replacing all of the rear flexies on this with braided ones, so it's one of those you didn't have to be too gentle taking it out. And as if by magic, there you go, that's the rear beam out. And as you can see, with it on the bench in a vise, it's really easy just to undo these last couple of bolts. So we've got the bolts that hold the rear brake carriers on, and then obviously you've got the discs to come off. Then you've just got the bolts to take the stub axle off, and that's it. It's all stripped down. So one of the reasons Dave has taken the rear beam out is A, because it's easier to work on the bench, but also if we have a look at the bushes, see here that the rear beam bush is yeah, that's well due a change, isn't it? So what better time while it's all apart, strip it out, push these bushes out and fit the new ones. So here we go, we've got the beam stripped down, still got the rear bushes to take out, but other than that, everything is everything's off. The brake lines put up a bit of a fight, but they're off, so it just needs a bit of a clean up, take these bushes out, and then we're good to start rebuilding it. Now at this point, some people might say, oh, you should be using a press to get those out, but to be honest, A, have you got a press in your workshop? And B, have you tried to get a rear beam in a press? So it's actually easier doing it this way. So what Monkey's doing is just drilling out the rubber bush, just in a circular motion, all the way around so that it kind of comes loose and you can tap it out. As you can see, that really has seen better days. So definitely the right thing to do is changing this instead of putting it back in. So with that out, Dave, what have we got to cut out now?
So now we are just left with the remnants of the metal race before we can push the new bush in. So all I'm doing is just building this axle back up. I'm just going to cut through what's left of the race. Need a bigger screw, I think. So I think I'm going to lever it as I go.
Now we just want to clean this out with a flap wheel on the drill, just to make sure it's nice and clean for the new bearing to be pushed into.
Right, so Dave's got this rear beam completely stripped down. As you saw, those rear bushes were just awful. So you're going to have to order a new set of those. So it means we're not going to get this rear beam back in today, but the bushes are on order, so Dave can get them fitted tomorrow and have the car back on the road and booked in for the alignment on Monday. So let's have a look and see what we've got.
Right, so we've got the rear dash shield, the stub axle itself. They're going to go on first, they're going to go into here. After we've done that, we can actually start thinking about pressing on the new bearing, which will go straight up to this shaft here. And then after that, the brake disc will go on, followed by the caliper and the carrier.
So what are you talking those up to, Dave?
They are listed at 60 Newton meters. Now, so I need something just to knock on the inside of that. And the socket is usually
Literally just tap that on, yeah?
Yep. And then after the kit, you bolt.
Bit of grease on the caliper sliders, and obviously this was a pain to take apart because it was all covered in 30 years worth of rust and crust and everything else, but as you can see, going back together, it's a pretty straightforward process if you're using refurbished or new parts. Now Dave's used new bolts for the stub axles as well, so obviously nice and easy. It's the little things like that you often forget about or overlook when doing a job like this, but make it 10 times easier when you're putting it back together. Rear brake going on. So when you're changing it over, it's really important to make sure that you use the Polo bolts to hold the carrier onto the back of the stub axle. So the Mark II bolts are just too short, so they won't fit. So if you're taking them off of a Polo, make sure you keep those 2 bolts off the back either side, or if you're buying a kit secondhand on eBay, make sure you ask for those bolts, or just go to VW.
And so now it's just a case of bolting the caliper to the slider bolts in the carrier, and at this stage this is just exactly what you'd be doing if you were changing your pads. So Dave's put some new Brembo pads in as well, so it really is just that straightforward.
It's like a 15 and a 13, isn't it?
Yep.
So that's it. It's a great upgrade. It's easy to do. It doesn't cost a lot. I mean, Dave, how much did this whole setup cost?
Well, all the new bits, new brake bits I got off AutoDoc. I think the bearings, the discs and the pads, they probably came to about £60. I think I paid about, I think it was about another £50 or £60 for all the second-hand Polo bits.
Okay.
So it's probably about 120, maybe 150 all in by the time I got new bolts, things like that.
Okay, so for about £150 you can do this job, and as we said earlier, the main benefit is that you don't have to keep changing your rear bearings or tightening your rear bearings. so that you can legitimately have a clean MOT with no advisories. So guys, look, we've got the other side to button up, and as I said before, we've got to get these rear beam bushes. They won't be here till tomorrow, so I'm going to go back home. So sorry, Dave, this is all for you to do tomorrow without me. If you want to see more of Dave's car, I mean, maybe when the weather's nice and we've got this job done, we might actually take it out for a spin. Yeah, so about that.
From Thursday until the start of December, you must stay at home.
So we're in lockdown again, and that means I can't get back down to see Dave. So I guess the next best thing is let's give him a call on Zoom and see how he got on.
Hi Dave, great to see you. It's been a week now. So obviously, yeah. What's happened? I'm not allowed to come back, am I? Oh, the big man said, stay at home.
Yeah. So to begin with, we were only supposed to do sort of a cheeky 1 day in and out, swap the brakes, swap the bushes on the rear beam, new brake lines, and throw it all back together in 1 day. As it turns out, the bushes I bought were the right ones, and that sort of put paid to that. So after you left, I thought, right, sorry, the beam's a bit rusty, so what I do is I just go all in. So I bought a load of hammerite, bought a couple of things for the grinder, cleaned all the rust off of it, and went properly for it. So yeah, so the next day after you left, I ordered up another pair of bushes from Euro Car Parts. They turned out to be the wrong ones. So in the end, I bought some off Amazon to be delivered on the Sunday. We had, so on the Saturday when I found out that they weren't the right bushes, I came back, cleaned all the beam off, repainted it, gave it a good decent coat of hammerite. So on the Sunday we came back. Obviously I was waiting for the bushes to arrive from Amazon. So what I'd done is I had the beam there ready to go. I rebuilt everything I could do. So when we done the video, I only done like a trial fit to show you what the brakes would look like. So I pulled them all back off again, cleaned everything up, painted everything on the Saturday. Then on the Sunday, I rebuilt everything properly. I made a load of new solid brake lines for it, trialed everything up, and then I actually positioned the beam underneath the car. As it turns out, the bushes didn't arrive till about 6 o'clock Sunday night. So I actually ended up going back down there because I had the alignment booked in for Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
I had to get it done. So yeah, so I went back there, pushed the beams in. Literally, oddly enough, when you have the right beams, and you can literally push them with your fingers. Yeah. Pretty much. So yeah, got that done. Yeah, went like clockwork, laid it back down. Then I drove the car back Sunday night, and then Monday got it all aligned, and yeah, she's driving much nicer now.
Yeah. So obviously you've changed it over to studs as well. So why did you do that? That's kind of not something you typically see on a Mark II Golf.
No, well, the reason behind it is it all goes back to the brake upgrade I done on the front. So I'm actually running 312s on the front of the car underneath a set of 15-inch wheels. So the way I've done that is I've used Mark II hubs, I've used re-drilled Mark VI GTi discs, Audi TT calipers, and then to get them under 15s, I had to use complemented wheels, and I had to space them off as well.
Right.
So when you get a hub that moves, you get a brake disc that moves because you can't screw it to the hub because they just don't match. You have a spacer that's moving, you've got a wheel. It's an absolute nightmare to put a wheel on.
Yeah.
So do the stud conversion, literally just throw it on, no problem.
Yeah.
So that was the idea. That was, to be honest, that's what spurred the entire project on, because I bought these stud conversions and I didn't want to put it on the back wheels until I'd done the Polo rear hub conversion as well.
Right. So if you were to, if you do this again, or you're advising anyone who wants to do this job, what are the things that really were a bit difficult that didn't necessarily go your way?
I think basically because the beam had never been off before, there was a lot of rusted bolts. It really didn't help that the caliper carrier bolts were pre-rounded out for me. Nice. So when I got there, literally I stood no chance to get them out with an Allen key or anything normal. They were totally shot.
Yeah.
Really happy that I actually took the whole beam off, because I was originally just going to literally just drop the beam down and do it on the deck, but yeah, I'd never got that done with the state of those bolts. in the end, as you know, we had to end up welding bolts onto them just to bloody unwind the things.
Yeah, so we didn't show that in the video. So obviously you welded some bolts on. I actually did a very similar job with some rear bearings on a Mark III a couple of days later. And as you saw from the pictures I sent you, instead of welding, I went straight for the angle grinder. And I say Sam went straight for the angle grinder.
Definitely happy as well. I bought all new bolts.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, especially with the Polo ones being longer. Didn't see that one coming.
No. So with yours, obviously you've got the back all together now. So what's next for your car then? Because it's pretty sorted. We haven't really had a chance to have a look around your car yet. I was hoping to come back and kind of film a bit of a follow up on getting that job finished up, but then also just having a bit of a look around your car because it is a bit special. So with everything that's been done to it, and it's pretty sorted as far as Mark IIs go, what's the next thing on the list for you? What do you want to do next?
Well, there's not a lot of mechanical moving parts I've not buggered about with. Most of them seem pretty much there now, but the next big project I'm trying to do is to fit air conditioning to it.
Okay.
So it's all around I'm just trying to make the car an all-rounder as much as possible. Yeah, but it's a bit of fun. I mean, yeah. I've been playing about with it for the best part of a year now. So it's probably going to be something I do in the new year.
Yeah.
I've got that. I might look at a little bit of stereo for it at some point, and I want to just tidy up the engine bay a little bit more. Yeah. But now, since obviously I've restored everything else, the engine bay paintwork's let the side down a little bit, so I just want to go back into it and tidy it up a little bit.
Yeah. Cool. Sounds good. So you've got still got a few bits left to go, but generally it's just kind of some nice to haves now instead of anything that's kind of essential.
Yeah, I'd like to hope that I've nailed off pretty much all the big things, all the bushes, the bearings, everything got done when I've done the conversion. I've overhauled all the brakes now in the last 12 months, so hopefully there shouldn't be an awful lot left.
Yeah.
To go wrong apart from normal maintenance.
Well, hopefully I can come back down and we can go out and have a play in it. Obviously not till at least the start of December. I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, I have got to say, for legal reasons, Dave definitely did not bribe his MOT tester.
No, he did it for illegal reasons.
Yeah, and guys, look, I guess, for me, it's been great to go down to Dave's workshop for the day, kind of get out and about, see what's going on down there, and obviously get to have a look around Dave's car as well. So guys, look, we've just hit 2,000 subscribers on the channel as well. So guys, thanks ever so much for that. If you're not currently subscribed, and about 80% of you aren't, press the subscribe button. And if you're watching it this far into the video, you obviously like what you see, so press the like button as well. So guys, from me, thanks ever so much for watching. Dave, thanks very much for having me down the workshop, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. So guys, with that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.